Well, good morning and welcome to Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Aiken. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. I'm so glad you've joined us this morning. We have a lot to cover. Weirdly, there's a lot about Mamdani. Yesterday, he released that second home tax, a list of everyone that will be taxed, some are using the term doxing, fears of violence there. We also have Fauci. The diaries released and the media is silent. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Some New York updates on Bruce Blakeman. Don't forget, on tomorrow's broadcast, we're going to be talking with Sheriff Jim Allard. Now, this is a big one. It always is a big one. But there's a lot going on with Hochul sending out, Attorney General Letitia James sending out that kind of a cease and desist, if you will, in reference to working with ICE. So we'll talk about that. Thursday, we're going to be talking with Cornell Mayor John Buckley. But let's get right to it. Yesterday, it was reported that First Lady Melania Trump and son Barron Trump are the latest target of Iran's sick anti-U.S. propaganda. This coming from Emily Gooden. A new video out of Iran is encouraging supporters of the Islamic regime to assassinate President Trump's wife in a video entitled How to Kill Melania Trump. It shows images of the First Lady and the motorcade, and in some locations around New York City, even naming some of the designer stores that she shops. The shopping excursions could be, quote, suitable for operations by global freedom fighters, end quote. It also suggested using a nerve agent to poison any clothes the First Lady might purchase. Now, the First Lady, President Trump, Secret Service have not responded with a comment. At the end of the video, Barron, who is just 20 years old, is also threatened, saying, "This is just the beginning. Barron, Trump, wait for us." Both the First Lady and Barron have full-time Secret Service details. All the Trump residences, the White House, Trump Tower in New York, the Bedminster Golf Club, and the Mar-a-Lago Estate in Florida are heavily secured. We've seen the billboards. We've seen this is a common theme coming out of Iran. Now, Trump did say that the U.S. is in very deep talks with Iran right now. But if diplomacy fails, strong military action will be taken. If they don't work out, we'll go back to very strong military action. The president indicated he has little patience for a prolonged negotiating process, saying any diplomatic breakthrough will have to come quickly. Asked how much time he is willing to give diplomacy, he said not much time. Either it goes fast or not at all. All the people that deal with Iran asked me, don't fire. Trump said that there was little downside to giving diplomacy another opportunity. Nothing gained, nothing lost. Now, it is being reported that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will be in the States for Lindsey Graham's funeral. He is going to meet with the president, and again, anonymous sources, but is going to provide Trump with intel on Iran's Pickaxe Mountain nuclear facility. During the meeting, Netanyahu's team will provide evidence of Iran's latest nuclear activity and demonstrate that Tehran is not currently negotiating in good faith, according to this source. Again, an anonymous source. This is coming from Caitlin Durambos and Ronnie Reyes. Israel has uncovered proof that nuclear centrifuges recently arrived at the secretive Pickaxe Mountain fortress for the first time since its construction began in 2020, according to the Wall Street Journal. The base, which lies more than 300 feet beneath the Kolang Mountain, has long been suspected of being a part of Iran's atomic program. There has previously been no evidence of nuclear activity at the site, which Trump referenced as his reason for leaving it alone in past attacks. Trump had notably attempted to downplay reports of activity at Pickaxe Mountain, telling reporters last week that the U.S. did not have any information on that. The president has recently signaled a willingness to bomb the mountain facility, with American forces also reportedly ready to launch a ground operation to seize hundreds of pounds of enriched uranium believed to be entombed in Iran. Now, Trump praised the great Netanyahu, as he called him, yesterday, as they prepare to meet. They're going to meet today. Bibi has been great. He was a wartime prime minister. We did very well together. He added the two leaders have a little difference, but are pretty close. Netanyahu departed for D.C. earlier yesterday, describing Trump as our friend and calling the meeting a great honor and a great responsibility. The 76-year-old's plane took off from an Israeli Air Force installation rather than Tel Aviv in response to potential threats from Iran. Our goal is clear, Netanyahu said, to safeguard Israel's security, strengthen its power, and expand the circle of peace around us. Despite the public proclamations of friendship, there have been multiple reports of tension between the two men, due in part to Trump's shifting strategy towards Iran. Danielle Pletka, Middle East expert, told the New York Post, I suspect that the United States and Israel would be on the same page if the United States didn't keep switching pages. Israel has been very reluctant to get back into the war with Iran if it's not going anywhere. I think their position is go big or get out. Former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor K.T. McFarland was on Fox Business Network yesterday on Varney and Company. And McFarland said that the best solution in Iran is sort of a slow-rolling regime change, slow-rolling coup, where the IRGC loses control, and others like the parliament gain control due to Iran's economic struggling. She also stated that after the mutual number one interest of eliminating Iran's nuclear program, the interests of the U.S. and Israel kind of diverge, because Netanyahu has said they want regime change. President Trump has said no, not necessarily. Now, I think many people that have been following this, myself included, would hope or had hoped for a regime change. But McFarland began by saying it's not a bad thing the longer this war goes on, at least economically, for the United States. And whatever the price of oil hits around $100 a barrel, there's a ceasefire and the price falls while the U.S. builds up military resources in the region in the meantime. She added, Iran is getting squeezed. No ships are going in and out of Iranian ports. Regardless of ceasefire, no ceasefire, that blockade is still holding, and that's got to be squeezing Iran economically. I'm looking at this and saying, what's the best solution here? The best solution is sort of a slow-rolling regime change, slow-rolling coup, where the IRGC loses control and the civilians that we're negotiating with, the parliament, etc., that they gain control. Why would they gain more control? Because of the economic devastation of Iran. Now, Stuart Varney asked, is there any rift between the U.S. and Israel at this point, with McFarland saying we have one objective, which is getting rid of Iran's nuclear program. That's number one for both of us. At that point, our interests kind of diverge, because Netanyahu has said, well, they want regime change. President Trump has said, no, not necessarily. I think what's going to the interesting thing, as the progress of this war, Iran war goes on, Iran has not struck Israel directly. Israel has not entered the Iran war at that stage. And when Prime Minister Netanyahu gave that threat, I think the threat is, okay, Iran, you come after us, we're coming after you. And by the way, you know where the top third, fourth, fifth tier of the IRGC is. And we can take them out as effectively as we've taken out the first and second tier. Okay, so there's your quick update on Iran. I will say the propaganda against Melania, very troubling. This is typical, though. There's so many moving pieces, and we've talked about so many different factions working behind the scenes. Also, we have quite a few updates just in general from, I know it's only Tuesday, but from some past programs that are definitely worth mentioning from yesterday's show. And we may get to Mayor Zohran Mamdani a little bit later on. There's quite a few pieces, whether it's putting Jewish residents' life in danger, whether it is putting the quote-unquote wealthies' life in danger after yesterday releasing anyone that has the second house that's going to be taxed, releasing those names. People are calling it doxing. But yesterday we brought to you this petition of it was a lot of signatures. Many of them were had family members, loved ones that were victims of the 9/11 terrorist attack, and they asked him not to attend the special 25th anniversary ceremonies. So the petition received about 17,000 signatures calling for Mayor Zohran Mamdani to stay away from the 25th anniversary ceremony. Mamdani was questioned about whether he would attend the event honoring the 2,977 innocents murdered in the September 11, 2001 terrorist attack, following mounting pressure from the Change.org petition. This is the comment that Zohran Mamdani made. Quote, I will proudly honor the families, the survivors, the first responders forever impacted by that horrific terror attack. by standing alongside them at this year's 9/11 commemoration. So he's honoring their wish for him not to attend by attending the ceremony, reaffirming that we will never forget the solemn day felt by all of us who call this city home, and frankly by all of us who call this country home. So completely ignoring the family's wishes, brushing off the grievances, and even almost kind of in a smug way of saying, I'm going to honor the families of survivors, the first responders forever impacted by the horrific terror attack by standing alongside them at this year's 9/11 commemoration. And there's many reasons why they did not want Mom Donnie there. For instance, not denouncing globalized intifada, these type of things. We don't need to go through all that. We went through that yesterday. Recognizing the gravity of the attacks and a clear rejection of the ideologies that contribute to such violence is said in the petition. So it looks as if he will be attending that ceremony as an update from yesterday. I'm not really surprised that he would go that direction, but worth mentioning. One other story here, and we've got to talk about Fauci because the media is ignoring this. Fauci's diary, well, we've got a couple big releases. Fauci's diary during COVID. We also have the tapes of Joe Biden. We're going to talk about that as well. The media talking a little bit about the Joe Biden tapes, trying to ignore because there was clearly so much of a connection that Fauci made with the media. The media fawned all over him. And in that diary, we learned just how close he got with people like Jake Tapper, Chuck Todd. We'll be telling you about that in just a moment. But this came across our desk early this morning. And if you have not heard, a shop owner is being hailed as a hero for his actions that foiled a possible attack during a No Kings protest. Gary Vandenberg, a former U.S. Navy SEAL who purchased powerful explosives to attack law enforcement during the No Kings rally in California last year, was found guilty yesterday. The 49-year-old man was sentenced to 16 months in jail following a 5-day jury trial in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Is it just me or 16 months to bomb law enforcement seems a little low? U.S. Attorney Ryan Ellison said people in this country are free to hold their own beliefs and to express them peacefully. What they are not free to do is use explosives to threaten or terrorize others. Vandenberg intended to turn explosives into a tool of intimidation, and this verdict sends the message that attempts to substitute violence for expressing one's opinion has no place in our communities and will be met with federal consequences. Vandenberg traveled from Texas ahead of the No Kings Day protest in San Diego on June 14, 2025. While passing by New Mexico, the former Navy SEAL purchased 6 large mortar fireworks and 72 M1250 firecrackers at a travel center. At the store, he told the clerk, wow, this guy sounds brilliant. He told the clerk about his plans to throw fireworks at police and was asking questions about the firecrackers' ability in harming others. He also urged the worker to join him at the protest. So just going to a random travel center in New Mexico, he buys 6 large mortar fireworks and 72 M1250 firecrackers, and then tells the clerk his plans. Officials were immediately alerted by the shop owner, and Vandenberg was arrested the following morning at an Air Force base in Arizona. The convicted man had a history of anti-Semitic and extremist views. He had a shirt bearing the Al-Qaeda flag and another calling for Judea to be destroyed. His home screen on his phone also showed the Taliban flag. Vanderbilt also believed that the U.S. government was being, quote, controlled by Israel and Jewish people, end quote, which led prosecutors convinced that those beliefs motivated his desire to target law enforcement officers at the protest. So that clerk, rightfully so, being called a hero, stopping that attack where the former Navy SEAL was going to attack our law enforcement. Okay, we're going to talk about Fauci. Have you followed this at all? I mean, you really have to do some digging to find it. The mainstream media isn't reporting on it. But Fauci's diary was released. And we're not going to talk about it all morning, but there's definitely a couple things worth mentioning when we return. We also have, like I said, Biden's tape being released, showing him confused, talking about classified material. We've got that. Then we've got a couple just generic things to segue to, whether it's about Trump, And then New York, a lot about New York. So I see some comments. I see some waves coming in. Keep them coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here at WYDC TV, Big Fox.
What better way to start or end every day than relaxing in your very own Hesselson's hot tub? Massage therapy, relaxation, stress reliever, pain management, soothing muscles, or just spending time with a loved one. Hot water therapy really does make every day better. Hesselson's has been a part of this great community for over 70 years, still being locally owned and operated. So make the drive to Hesselson's and start making your path to a better life today. And after 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
After having arthritis for 30 years, I did want to work and keep working until my retirement age. The feet problems I had just made it impossible. The team was excellent. They go through everything step by step, help you right along the way. And after surgery, here I go again. We're back out. Moving around again is just amazing. And I'm very much appreciative of the care I received. It was exceptional.
Big day of smooth jazz awaits you at the Ferrario Elmira Jazz Festival. Join us at Thorne Street Park Saturday, August 15th for chart-topping jazz keyboardist Brian Simpson and soprano saxophonist Marion Meadows with local favorite Top Shelf. Celebrate with us. Tickets only $42. It's one big day. Buy tickets at ElmiraJazzFestival.com. Brian, Marion, and Top Shelf. One big day.
It's more than music.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers, a slow-moving system is bringing a cooler and wetter stretch for us. A high of 76 today with scattered showers and some rumbles of thunder. Highs in the region ranging from 73 to 78, then generally in the low 60s overnight with additional showers and thunderstorms. More wet weather on Wednesday, 68 to 73 for our highs. Lingering showers Thursday. After that, dry Friday and Saturday with a warming trend.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. A couple comments from viewers. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning, Mart. I saw a clip where Sheriff Jim Allard was asked about the new law where law enforcement can't work with ICE. Let me tell you, he was not happy about it. That is for sure. We're going to talk with him. I saw that. He's been interviewed by various outlets. He's actually, I think it was with Spectrum that he was interviewed on. That is actually on Empire Report this morning. So you can find that for yourself. But we're going to be talking more in depth than you get from just your typical article, more in depth with Sheriff Allard on tomorrow's broadcast. So if you have any specific questions for the sheriff, please, I'll add them to the list. I would appreciate it. And since I'm highlighting it, Thursday, Hornell Mayor, John Buckley, and I'm just looking at my schedule here, and on Friday, Michael Volino, Steuben County Legislator. So we'll be talking with all of those guests throughout the week, so if you have any questions, please get them to me. Hey, by the way, did you see, comment from a different viewer, I almost forgot this one. Good morning, good morning. I would like to see Netanyahu visit Mamdani just to say hi. Yes, of course. It's troubling, the rhetoric that Mamdani, and he doesn't care about the people he puts in harm's way, whether he's stoking this kind of anti-Israel, anti-Jewish sentiment, whether now he's doxing and releasing the names of people. Some are major supporters of him, like that Cynthia Nixon, but releasing their names that will be affected by this second house tax. People are calling it doxing because think of how they've talked about the rich and the rich being evil. So then he releases their name, again, believing that they're rich. It's very troubling. We may get to that a little bit later on. I hate focusing so much on Mamdani, but I think it is worth mentioning. Quickly, did you see that Cracker Barrel's CEO, Julie Fells-Massino, stepping down after that failure of what they called a woke rebrand last year? I'm surprised, I've got to say, I'm surprised she lasted a year. That was a disaster. Now, David Deno, a recent executive who served as CEO of Bloomin' Brands, which owns Outback, will replace Massino on August 10th, according to Cracker Barrel. Massino will remain at Cracker Barrel in an advisory capacity until October 9th to ensure a smooth transition. Shares in Cracker Barrel slipped 2.4% yesterday. Her departure comes after less than 3 years at the helm, during which diners revolted against the company's attempts to modernize a southern dining chain last August by axing its beloved mascot, Uncle Herschel, and revamping restaurants without its trademark, knickknacks. Following heated backlashes from longtime customers and even President Trump himself, Cracker Barrel reversed the changes and leaned to its folky charm, ultimately sending the stock up 100% so far this year. Massino's exit was certainly a surprise to me, said benchmark analyst Todd Brooks. The company had never indicated a search was underway. Very surprising, given the series of positive announcements that the company has had earlier last week. I mean, just to think of the cost of all the new signs and the things like that they had built and then just had to scrap it and reverse it. We'll be watching to see what new management communicated about its strategy, particularly as it relates to its core customers. The company is way over-indexed in the 65-year-old and up crowd, and those customers stayed away. It has been nearly a full year since they reversed the rebrand, and the embattled chief executive has remained in her position, even giving several interviews on her experience navigating the controversy. Last November, Massino told Glenn Beck that she felt she had been fired by America after she asked whether she was surprised that she managed to keep her job. Anyway, we don't have to go through all that. Just as an update, story we talked a lot about at the time, and I thought worth mentioning. So Fauci's diary. So we learned a lot. First of all, he loved the fawning media attention. It is very reminiscent of former Governor Cuomo, who was receiving so much attention at the time when COVID first hit. Because of course, New York City is a media hub. So he was doing his daily press conferences. It caused people, and these things are very similar, caused people to say, okay, let's oust Joe Biden, because Joe Biden, of course, had won the primary at that point. Get rid of him. We'll put in Andrew Cuomo. This was at the time. And he loved it. I mean, he loved the attention. Well, we learned from the diaries, it sounds like Fauci loved it too, the attention. Fauci's diary showed that he lied to the public about the fatality rate. Now, keep in mind, when we talk about this, I think I have a little bit here. This is being completely ignored. This story, as a matter of fact, and I'll say I'm a little guilty. When I first saw it, I thought it may not be a full story. I wasn't really sure. Because it was being ignored. But we can understand why it's being ignored, because if you read his diary, a lot of these media personalities became, I would argue, too close of friends with him in the sense of media and kind of interviewee. But we learned that he lied to the American public about the fatality rate. In February of 2020, in his entry in the diary, Fauci recorded the number of cases as well as his many media appearances. He also surmised that the mortality rate of the virus was more likely 0.2% to 0.3% rather than the 2% that he had been promoting in the media. The entry reads, Tom Frieden called me this morning and we discussed various aspects of the outbreak. He and I are on the same page in thinking that this is acting like a bad influenza and its transmissibility, and that the denominator is much greater than 34,867, making the case fatality rate more likely 0.2%, 0.3%, rather than 2%. But that's not what Fauci was saying to the public at the time. During a March appearance on Hannity, Fauci said the mortality for the coronavirus is about 2.5%. The mortality for seasonal flu is 0.1. The mortality for this is about 2.5%. It's probably lower than that. It's probably closer to 1. But even if it's 1, it's 10 times more lethal than the seasonal flu. You got to make sure that people understand. The same month, testifying before Congress, Fauci touted those same figures yet again, saying, well, understand that the seasonal flu that we deal with every year has a mortality of 0.1%. The starting mortality overall this, when you look at the data, including China, is about 3%. It first started off as 2 and now 3. I think if you count all the cases of minimally symptomatic and asymptomatic infections, that probably brings the mortality rate down to somewhere around 1%, which means it is 10 times more lethal than the seasonal flu. I think that's something that people can get their arms around and understand. I mean, people always say, well, the flu, the flu does this, the flu does that. The flu has a mortality of 0.1%. That has a mortality of 10 times that. And that's the reason I want to emphasize that we have to stay ahead of the game in preventing this. And now this is a huge takeaway, in my opinion. Arguably, well, I haven't read all of them, but arguably the biggest takeaway is that his January 2020 diary entry admits that the coronavirus likely was a lab leak. We're going to talk about that when we return. We've got just a few things. I know Fauci isn't the best topic, but the media covered this up, and they've let him get away with this lying for a very long time. So now to have the diaries and seeing in essentially real time what he was thinking, I think is very worth mentioning and very worth the few moments underneath a magnifying glass to see kind of how power hungry he became, and much like Cuomo at the time, loving the media attention, loving being a rock star in their own mind. So we'll talk about that when we return. Just running a tad bit late. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking after this.
More cars, lower prices. Simmons Rockwell. Whether you're in the market for new, used, or certified pre-owned, Simmons Rockwell locations across the Twin Tiers have more of what you're looking for with our best price right on the windshield. Make car buying simple when you drive your deal at a Simmons Rockwell location near you, where you'll always find more cars at lower prices.
Get ready 185th Chemung County Fair. 5 days of family fun. August 4th through August 8th at the Chemung County Fairgrounds in Horseheads. Experience thrilling rides, exciting games, and captivating livestock shows. Taste delicious fair food and explore local vendors. Rust and Fright Concert August 4th. Tractor Pull August 5th. Rodeo August 6th. Truck Pull August 7th. Demolition Derby August 8th. Join us for the 185th Chemung County Fair, where tradition meets excitement. Visit ChemungCountyFair.com for tickets and details.
Was a veteran and she was injured in the line of duty.
I hurt my leg in a training accident when she was only 2 years old.
She had 7 different surgeries over the span of 9 years, and there were tons of complications.
I couldn't be the mom my kids needed me to be.
She missed so much.
After my last surgery, I got an infection so bad I thought it was going to kill me.
I told her she couldn't leave me yet. There was still so much she had to see. I hadn't even graduated.
I'm doing much better now. I'm an active part of my kids' lives.
She can kick a mean soccer ball.
DAV's been there for me and my family. Through thick and thin, they've had our back.
Every year, DAV helps more than 1 million veterans like Sandy get the health and disability benefits they've earned, so they can achieve victories great and small.
My victory is getting my life back. I may have lost my leg, but I've gained so much. I got my joy back.
We got our mom back, thanks to DAV.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. We're talking about Dr. Anthony Fauci's diary release. So as I mentioned in a January 2020 entry, and these are all released by Rand Paul, and I think that's the reason why the mainstream media has found that to be an excuse. It's not correct, but using as an excuse not report on this. But it features Fauci detailing a conference call with several scientists. I'm not going to go through the names of the scientists. In his diary, Fauci mused, there was not total agreement about the likelihood of deliberate insertion. Speaking of the engineering of the virus in a lab, he then revealed that only 2 seemed to openly disagree with the possibility of the lab leak theory. All of the other scientists believed it was very possible. It is important to note that January 2020 was before the lockdowns had started and was also before the World Health Organization had even declared it a pandemic. Ron Fauci said he was sure that they could occur naturally and we should not waste our time and divert effort to pursue this. This is expected of him since he was the original GOF person with Yoshi Kawaka. Also, Christian Drosten was with Ron. The rest felt that deliberate insertion was possible. Despite that, Fauci spent years publicly dismissing the credible lab leak theory as a wild conspiracy, yet he often struck a softer tone in the diary, asserting that no one is 100% 100% certain of the origin, including himself. So remember, you were called a conspiracy theorist if you thought it was from a lab in Wuhan. In May of 2021, he said the situation continues to get out of control with regard to the press reports concerning my flip-flopping concerning the theory of the origin of the virus. I always said that the very highly likelihood is that the virus originated naturally from an animal reservoir jumping to a human. However, over the past couple of days, given the amount of speculation about the possibility of a lab leak, I have been saying that no one is 100% certain of the origin, including me, and so I'm calling for a thorough investigation. Now, Fauci and CNN at the time condemned those small household gatherings. Remember that? So they're condemning it on CNN weeks before Fauci had dinner with Tapper, Jake Tapper. Jake Tapper and Anthony Fauci were up to while small household gatherings were condemned, schools were closed, Thanksgiving gatherings were shamed, nursing home residents were denied access to their loved ones, mourners were banned from funerals, small businesses were shuttered, and churches were closed. On October 14, 2020, CNN published a report warning about the dangers of small household gatherings. Okay. And then, I'm not going to go through every single quote. Dr. Anthony Fauci wrote in his diary on October 23, 2020, had dinner at my home with Jake and Jennifer Tapper. Relaxed, good time. Jake clearly believes that Trump is totally nuts. Hit 83,000 new cases today. The single-day record since the beginning of the outbreak. Surge continues. We know for sure that the people who are without symptoms innocently will no malintention at all, goes to a party and goes to a gathering, gets together indoor. You let your guard down. You obviously have to have a mask off if you're eating or drinking. Try to avoid that as much as possible. That's what he said a few weeks later, after the danger of Thanksgiving. About the danger of Thanksgiving. So Jake Tapper, and I think that's a very telling point there too, right? Where he said that Jake Tapper clearly believes that Trump is totally nuts. That's another takeaway from this. And by the way, that was the second dinner Tapper and Fauci had. The first was a few months earlier in July of 2020. Quote, had dinner over Jake Tapper and Jen Tapper's home in D.C. Terrific couple friendship building. It is really weird to read his diaries, but that's where we're at this morning. But it shows, again, these diaries show that he even fed questions to journalists and built friendship with media figures. That's why we were kind of forced this propaganda. Fauci's diary entries were released on Saturday by Senate Homeland Security Committee Chairman Rand Paul, detailing the doctor's role during the COVID-19 crisis through conversations with President Trump, governors, world leaders, media appearances, and his personal observations as the pandemic unfolded. The stunning diary entries reveal that Fauci made fast friends with members of the liberal media who were tasked with covering the pandemic. The same thing happened with Andrew Cuomo. Fauci's closest media ally appeared to have been CNN anchor Jake Tapper, who was mentioned 41 times in the eyebrow-raising diary, and that is why they're not reporting on this. It's embarrassing. That's why Jake Tapper had to release that book about not covering the decline of mental health for Joe Biden. They wanted to get ahead of it and rewrite history in real time and lie about what they reported on and what they didn't report on. So Jake Tapper had to do that. Now add to the lack of, this is why the mainstream media has no credibility any longer. Now add to that this friendship with Fauci, pushing Fauci's narrative. Jake wanted to make sure the interview did not cause me any problems, Fauci wrote about an appearance on April 13th, 2020. In July 2020, Fauci gushed that he was forming a friendship with Tapper. Later that month, Fauci wrote that he gave Jake some questions to ask pediatrician Brett Garoor during an interview. Tapper woke me up at 11:23 a.m. I went to bed early, furious at the president for tweeting about the fact that Jake severely questioned Brett Garoor on the CNN show today. Jake was really mad at the craziness of it all, Fauci wrote. Man, so the common theme is not just that they became fast friends, is that Jake Tapper really dislikes the president. Who's surprised by that? Little tidbit. I guess that's the least surprising part of the Fauci diaries. Jake Tapper's lost so much credibility, but he's still smug. He's still arrogant. He'll still go right on quote-unquote reporting. Dana Bash sent Fauci a text message in April 2021 after a contentious House Select Subcommittee hearing over COVID-19. The CNN star complimented Fauci and informed the doctor that her CNN colleague also picked a side. Dana Bash sent me a text. I just watched the whole Jordan thing. Again, you're a better man than I. As our friend Wolf Blitzer said to me yesterday, no one would have blamed you if you simply told Mr. Jordan to blank himself. Do we need to go through all this? I had a really nice conversation with Chuck Todd this morning. He texted me to ask what I thought about the interview yesterday. Thank you. So impressive, Stephanopoulos told Fauci. Even saying at one point, the press is going wild over me. Press is going wild with me. Front page in Washington Post yesterday, an op-ed by Maureen Dowd in New York Times today about me and my relationship with the president. Profile by Peter Nichols on me in the Atlantic. I am trying in several articles and on TV to clarify that the president is talking about hope for therapies, although there are no good data. While I must stick to the science, and so fundamentally we are approaching this from different but not conflicting standpoints. He said his heightened profile and the media attention was flattering. Big front page article about me appeared in the Washington Post, very flattering. The situation with my national and international fame is explosive and really unimaginable. It is not hyperbole to say that today I'm the most famous and talked about person in the country and one of the most recognizable persons in the world. Apparently, the White House is very upset that I'm being profiled, and it looks like I am putting down the president and becoming a star that outshines him. The press is playing into this as is the tweet storm. Very stressful. All right, we don't have to spend much more time on this, but there was one other. Yeah, I'm running just a little late. You can weigh in. But RFK Jr., Health and Human Services Secretary, condemned Dr. Fauci on Monday after revealing personal diary entries revealing that the doctor's fixation on fame. Fauci's focus was on promoting himself, on getting on TV, and not doing public health, he told Laura Ingraham. Kendi, who said he is traumatized by Fauci's falsehoods, said the former director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases did incalculable damage to public health and dismantled the public trust. Fauci was the expert that they elevated, and anybody who did not give complete blind faith to these expert opinions, which we now know were lies, were marginalized, vilified, demonized, and censored. RFK Jr. is spot on with that. He strongly criticized the doctor's mismanagement of the pandemic, emphasizing his role in placing the United States at the highest mortality rate in the world at 3,000 deaths per 1 million people. Because of Dr. Fauci's leadership and other reasons, we had the highest mortality rate from COVID of any country in the world. We literally did worse than any nation in the world. I pointed out that COVID almost certainly came from the Wuhan lab, and my Instagram was canceled with a million followers for misinformation. I never put any misinformation up. I put up the things that we now know are true, and it was called misinformation. He pointed fingers at Fauci, saying he is to blame for America's lack of trust in public health, and added that they shouldn't because they were lied to. The press was part of this collaboration, and RFK Jr. is spot on with this. We're seeing that in the diaries. It was corrupt, and it did tremendous damage to the media in this country and to America's faith in that very important democratic institution. It also did incalculable damage to public health. There are many things that Fauci said that we now know are lies, and Rand Paul presumably is going to ask him about those things. And if he lies again, then he would be subject to perjury prosecution. All right, feel free to weigh in on this. No problem with your comments. I'd love to hear about Fauci, but we are going to move on from that. But I think it just shows again, it's just more icing on the cake of showing the lack of credibility of the mainstream media, the fawning over Dr. Fauci, Cuomo at the time. So that was my big takeaway from it. Yours? Let me know when we return. We'll be right back after this.
Live a carefree, engaging lifestyle at Apple Ridge Senior Living, where exceptional is the standard. It's time to redefine your future. Pursue your passions and make meaningful connections. Enjoy an inclusive and customizable senior living experience. Everything you could want, more than you expect. Visit appleridgeseniorliving.com and schedule your tour today.
Dear Coach.
Dear Coach, They don't teach you that inner strength is the most important kind of strong. But you taught me that.
They don't teach you how to build confidence in yourself or how to deal with all the pressures all at once. But you taught me that.
First tee was more than golf. It's where I discovered what I'm capable of.
You didn't just prepare me for 18 holes. You were preparing me for every day of my life. Learn more at firsttee.org.
Accident. If you're looking for an honest, dependable, trustworthy auto repair shop, bring it to Nappy's. Or if it's undrivable, have it towed right to us. It's your choice where to take your vehicle. Nappy's works with all insurance companies and will manage all vehicle calibrations. Nappy's has a state-of-the-art paint booth and a new and improved repair shop. Let our friendly staff of specialists help you through the process and get it done right the first time. Commit to Nappy's, family-owned for 3 generations.
Thank you for your business.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers, a slow-moving system is bringing a cooler and wetter stretch for us. A high of 76 today with scattered showers and some rumbles of thunder. Highs in the region ranging from 73 to 78. Then generally in the low 60s overnight with additional showers and thunderstorms. More wet weather on Wednesday, 68 to 73 for our highs. Lingering showers Thursday. After that, dry Friday and Saturday with a warming trend.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. All right, let's go to viewer comments, just compiling them all. Thank you for everybody sending them in. All right, first comment. Good morning, Frank. Well, good morning. I don't understand. I thought diaries were a personal thing that you kept in your house. How is it that they had access to them? I guess his motive to release them was to get back into the spotlight. No, it would have been because Rand Paul has been investigating this. It would have been, I would assume, under some congressional hearing that they were subpoenaed, would be my thoughts on that. I haven't actually heard how he got them, but I know they're Fauci's diaries. But that would be in relationship because, remember, it was questioned whether or not he lied under oath. But Ken has a good point. To what point is Fauci being investigated and called in front of Congress? There could be no prosecution due to Biden's pardon. It is my understanding that he can sit and lie to Congress all he wants regarding COVID, and there will be no consequences. It just seems like it's taking up time and spending money. We all know he lied to the public. He is responsible for many deaths, and he helped the Democrats get Biden elected by keeping the country locked down and forcing unprecedented mail-in voting fraud. Thank you, Ken. So kind of almost answer that first comment. Comment from a different viewer. The only good thing that COVID is that Trump talked about how UV lights kill germs and viruses. Now we have them used in water system and hand dryers, actually preventing the spread. Remember, the mainstream media laughed, but Trump was right. Thank you very much. Oh, yesterday on a different topic, and feel free to continue to weigh in on Fauci. But like I said, my assumption would be that they were subpoenaed, that they've got, Rand Paul got those for these hearings. But to Ken's point, I guess it's worth mentioning. The mainstream media is not mentioning it. But yes, we did know he lied, and there's not going to be much that comes from it, would be the way I understand it as well. Yesterday, former FBI Director James Comey, all names blast from the past, asked a judge to drop the charges against him, arguing that his 8647 post was political speech, not a threat against President Donald Trump. Well, I thought he didn't know what it meant. I thought he wasn't even sure what it was. You know what's troubling? This has almost become a rallying cry for the left. I saw people, now that the congressman's office isn't on Market Street anymore, I haven't seen as many protests, but when it was, there's protests, and I saw a handwritten sign from one of the protesters, just in big numbers, 8647, thinking it's humorous, thinking they're being cute or something. 86 possibly meaning eliminate, and 47 potentially meaning Trump. You know all that. On Monday, Comey's lawyers argued that the government cannot prove that the seashell arrangement constituted a threat, adding that the phrase generally means get rid of or eject, while noting it has appeared on signs at protests. Quote, but the government now singles out Mr. Comey to prosecute one of the president's most prominent critics for publishing another person's statement of political opposition. That attempt to suppress core political speech contravenes both the states at issue and the statutes at issue and the First Amendment. Even if 8647 could implausibly be read to suggest violence, a reasonable observer would still understand Mr. Comey's post as a mere political hyperbole, not a true threat. The Supreme Court has rejected threat prosecutions based on speech far more directly threatening than Mr. Comey's seashell posts here. All right. And yesterday, yes, I know, I heard the Corning whistle as well, just having a lot of blasts from the past. Confused Biden admitted he discovered classified materials downstairs in a bumbling chat that you can listen to for yourself that he had with that ghostwriter, with so many pauses, so many ums. The heavily redacted recording of Biden working on his 2017 memoir were released yesterday to the House Judiciary Committee and Conservative Oversight Project nonprofit after a 2-year-long court battle. Oversight Project President Mike Howell said, "We now know what has been long assumed. The auto pen scandal extends far back beyond just when Joe Biden ran for president from his basement. These tapes have so many pauses and ums that it sounds like Biden is buffering like a dial-up internet connection. In one part of an interview, Biden says, all right, what was I going to ask you? Something else? Oh my gosh, I can't think of anything else. In another moment, Biden asks his ghostwriter to hang on a second. When he apparently studies his notes, it's confusing me, the former president later said. Anyway, we get the idea. We knew that was going to be the case. But you can weigh in on that if you want. But we have to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Watch news from the Twin Tiers and catch local events on Facebook.com/Big Fox News.
Going to go to the gym? The health club is not an option? Come to Hesselson today and see why swim spas and fitness systems can fit into anyone's yard and budget. 12-foot, 14-foot, 15-foot, 18-foot dual temperature hot tub and swim spas are all on display in Hesselson's indoor and outdoor showroom. Try before you buy. 0% interest-free financing options are available on every Hesselson swim spa. Swim and exercise year-round and start making every day better. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
The only thing more American than apple pie and 4th of July is baseball. This year, WYDC is bringing you 25 New York Mets games free over the air this spring and summer. No fees and no subscription services. Tune into WJKP 48.2 to watch the New York Mets this MLB season.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Yes, so the Biden tapes were released after that legal battle. Roughly 70 hours of audio recordings were cited in the 2024 Special Counsel's report. Biden even at one point saying some of this may be classified, so be careful. I'm not sure. It's not marked classified, but at another point in the recording, he says the next thing I have here is this is classified. So that was at his home. Your thoughts on that? Okay, yesterday, we got quite a few things here. I want to get to New York State issues probably at the top of the hour. We also have quite a few things here about Democrats in general, Zohran Mamdani. But first, Trump. President Trump lauded his tariffs, admired a Corvette and a Cadillac, and told auto workers he's done more for them than their parents during his stop in Michigan on Monday. Trump was in the swing state to tout his handling of the economy ahead of the midterm elections. He specifically focused on his tariffs and how they targeted foreign-made automobiles. It's amazing what tariffs will do for General Motors, he said at a GM testing facility. They're doing great. General Motors is doing fantastic. They're having the best year they've ever had. The rest of the world doesn't love me, noting the 25% tariff rate, but that's okay. It's called America First. He told the crowd of automakers that the industry is back and bragged to them, I've done more for you than your parents, okay? Your parents are good. I'm not going to knock your parents, but I've been better to you than your parents. The American auto industry has struggled to recover from the COVID pandemic and to keep pace with foreign competition. New car sales have been stagnant due to rising prices and general inflation. But Trump championed the importance of autos made in the U.S., telling a story of how his father, Fred Trump, bought himself a new Cadillac every 2 years. I had a wonderful father, and he was a hard worker. You know what he wanted? A Cadillac every 2 years. This was to him the sign of luxury. This was the greatest thing. And he noted the presidential limousine known as the Beast was built at the GM factory. Plus, he added the government bought several hundred Escalades, which are used by the Secret Service. You know, we look sharp in those Escalades. Our guys are very spoiled. They're very spoiled. During his tour of the factory, the president saw several defense tactical vehicles and expressed his admiration for them, saying, how about you send me a couple to the GM? Trump also announced, good news, he was giving all American car companies the right to build what are known as tiny little tiny car. The president's visit was auto heavy. Trump observed a drag race of cars and trucks on the GM track, pumping his fist after watching the Corvette, Cadillac, and Hummer vehicles compete. That was followed by a tour of the facility where Trump autographed a white Corvette that was made specifically for America's 250th birthday and sat in a metallic blue Cadillac. A few protesters interrupted his remarks, to which the president quipped, it's the communists. Politics did come into play. The president brought several Michigan Republicans onto the stage, including Representative Mike Rogers, who was unopposed in the Senate primary. Rogers and his remarks promised to support the Save America Act, the president's signature voting legislation. Ahead of the state's August 4th primary, Trump also touted his pick for governor, Representative John James, who's competing in the primary against Mike Cox and Perry Johnson. You have to win, John James. You have to win. Democrats said they welcome Trump to the state. You know, we're not unhappy Donald Trump's here, the Democratic Party chairman Curtis Hurdle told reporters. At the end of the day, I think Donald Trump is the best spokesman that the Michigan Democratic Party can have. He's the most unpopular president at this point in his term in Michigan that I think we've ever seen. That's a brilliant take on that. All right. We got quite a few other things, but we got to take a break. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Don't forget to visit our Facebook page at Big Fox News. Watch news from the Twin Tiers and catch local events on Facebook.com/Big Fox News. Give kids time. Just 5 minutes a day. Ask them how they're feeling. And listen.
Month after year, even decades you've paid into the insurance system. You've done your part. But when you're seriously injured in a car accident or another tragedy, that system turns its back. Insurance companies care more about pumping up profits and stock prices than paying for your medical bills, your lost wages, or your recovery. At WYDC Injury Law, we fight to make them pay what's fair. If you've been hurt in New York or Pennsylvania, call 607-500-HURT. Don't let the insurance companies win.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers, a slow-moving system is bringing a cooler and wetter stretch for us. A high of 76 today with scattered showers and some rumbles of thunder. Highs in the region ranging from 73 to 78, then generally in the low 60s overnight with additional showers and thunderstorms. More wet weather on Wednesday, 68 to 73 for our highs. Lingering showers Thursday. After that, dry Friday and Saturday with a warming trend.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio. Already wrapping up hour number one. We do have a few things here about the Democrat Party. We also have quite a few things here about New York. I did want to say quickly, congratulations to our friends at the Steuben Senior Services Fund. I received a press release yesterday that it was a huge success, their annual bubbly and brunch at the Corning Museum of Glass. This was their first time holding it at the Corning Museum of Glass. The event featured a celebratory brunch, sparkling beverages, auctions, and inspiring stories highlighting the impact of the Full Circle America Aging in Place program. Proceeds from the event will help older people remain safe, independent, and connected while continuing to live in their own homes and communities. A highlight of the afternoon was the recognition of several individuals whose dedication has helped make the event a success. The inaugural Doyle Award was presented to Mike Doyle in recognition of his outstanding support in helping make the first 5 bubbly and brunch events possible. The award was accepted on his behalf by Pamela Doyle-Gee. The Doyle Award will become an annual honor recognizing an individual or organization whose contributions have played a significant role in the success and growth of the Bubbly and Brunch fundraiser. The Steuben Senior Services Fund also recognized Bill and Mary Hallinan as the event's honorary co-chairs for their continued support and commitment to serving older adults in the community. Additional recognition was given to Diane Marshall and Donna Chermonte, who served as event co-chairs, along with Hildreth Vollens, who was honored for her leadership in organizing and guiding the event. The afternoon was led by Linda Teeter, our good friend, Executive Director of the Steuben Senior Services Fund, whose leadership helped make the event another memorable success. So congratulations to our friends at Steuben Senior Services Fund. And I heard some great things about it, so I'm glad it was a big success. All right, so we're going to talk quite a few issues here. Neil Gorsuch had something interesting to say yesterday. I'm going to tell you about that. Did not print out properly. But we'll talk about that in the next hour. We've got quite a few New York State updates, specifically with Bruce Blakeman. Mom Donnie publishing all the addresses of property owners who could be hit with that new, how do you even say it? Pied-à-terre tax. It's a 2-house. If you have 2 houses, you're going to be taxed. So we can talk about that as well. But we have to take a short break because it is time to wrap up hour number 1. Don't forget that on tomorrow's broadcast, we're going to be talking with Sheriff Jim Allard. If you have any questions about that major issue, I mean, like I said, it was on Empire Report this morning, the major issue with Letitia James, basically a cease and desist of working with ICE. We're going to talk with him tomorrow, Sheriff Allard. On Thursday, John Buckley will be our guest, Hornell Mayor. And then on Friday, Michael Volino, Steuben County Legislator. He's got a couple events coming up that he wants to tell us all about. So there we go. I think we got everything covered. And the time is looking good. Yeah, well, I'll tell you about this Neil Gorsuch thing in just a little bit. It's just confusing to me, but I think it's worth mentioning, and then we'll dive into kind of the bigger stories of the day. If you have an opinion on Fauci, by all means, let us know what your thoughts are about Fauci, about Joe Biden's tape, whatever you think. So much to talk about. Stay with us. Hour number 2 coming up just mere moments away.
Get ready for the 185th Chemung County Fair. 5 days of family fun. August 4th through August 8th at the Chemung County Fairgrounds in Horseheads. Experience thrilling rides, exciting games, and captivating livestock shows. Taste delicious fair food and explore local vendors. Rust and Fright Concert August 4th. Tractor Pull August 5th. Rodeo August 6th. Truck Pull August 7th. Demolition Derby August 8th. Join us for the 185th Chemung County Fair, where tradition meets excitement. Visit ChemungCountyFair.com for tickets and details.
Can you help me?
Mom, Dad, we're going out.
Thank you.
Oh, look, they're playing chess.
What you got there?
Will you help my mom?
She's real sick, huh? Hey, crew, I'll give the first move to anyone who signs up to be an organ donor. How do you do it?
Easy. Just go to organdonor.gov.
You heard him. Organdonor.gov.
More donors means more hope. Sign up at organdonor.gov.
And we welcome you to hour number 2 of Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox. I'm your host, Frank Acom. We are broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. Morning, Frank. Well, good morning. It seems that when Trump turned the tables against the Democrats, they cry and moan, and all of a sudden, it's not fair. The deep state is prepared to unleash anarchy against America. Be ready. Thank you very much. Ken writes in, how did someone get a hold of the Fauci diary? It sounds like Fauci is a world-class narcissist. Absolutely. And given that he can't be prosecuted for anything COVID-related, he wanted to be talked about in the world, knowing many would hate him more and many would love him more for what he was responsible for. Regardless, he will be on top of the world because everyone is talking about him again. So to answer your question, he probably gave his diary up intentionally. Yeah, Rand Paul received it. I'm sure it was part of the hearing, but I'm sure he has no problem with the attention on him. But he's not getting as much attention on this one because it showed too much collusion with the media, and that doesn't reflect well on the media, so already lacking credibility, they are just ignoring it. So I mentioned this with Neil Gorsuch, and this is really interesting to me. He said he's often accused of being an optimist. This is Justice Neil Gorsuch from the Supreme Court. Remember, this is who the left hates. Not just him, but anybody that they deem conservative, even though a lot of decisions have went against Trump lately. It doesn't matter. They want complete adherence to the far left. He said, I know when you look around today, you see problems. I see problems with civic education. Are we going to disagree? Yes, we're going to disagree. But that's the way the whole system works. And if you look over 250 years and what we've achieved, I don't know why you wouldn't be optimistic about America. I do think young people, when they're exposed to these ideas, when they're exposed to these heroes in our past, will find inspiration from them and can do great things because of them. But revolting against the British was no easy task, as Gorsuch lays out in the book, required a great deal of courage and sacrifice, often in one's own life. And it was not easy to choose a side. Which one would Gorsuch have chosen? We will never know what we would have done. I know who I'd like to think whose side I would have been on. I'd like to have been a patriot, of course. This is where I find it interesting. Justice Gorsuch also reflected on the way history has been construed in contemporary politics. Conservatives like J.D. Vance and Heritage Foundation President Kevin Roberts have recently asserted America was founded as a Christian nation. This is why I bring up the article. Neil Gorsuch disagrees, saying, I just don't see it that way. We have a First Amendment, for crying out loud. No established religion. But this is the far-right extremists that the left wants to stack the court against. Speaking of the Supreme Court, though, Trump did ask them to approve the mail-in voting curbs before the midterms. The Trump administration asked the Supreme Court yesterday for an emergency ruling to let it implement an executive order targeting mail-in voting. The request of the nation's highest court came after a federal appeals court over the weekend blocked the order's implementation in 23 states that sued to challenge its requirement, barring ballots from being sent to anyone not on an approved eligible voter list, so not just willy-nilly send them to everybody. The administration is seeking a quick decision, noting that any new policies would need to be active by August to be used in November's election. And because he asked that, the Atlantic, Vanity Fair, James Rosenbaum did, and I was behind a paywall, so I don't know all of it, but a midterm hijack plan. Many see the contours of a federal coup attempt taking shape. The big lie could be going even bigger. How Team Trump may be preparing to destabilize November's vote and keep Congress in Republican hands. An array of experts have been warning us for some time now. In their view, there's a radical, anti-democratic plot afoot cooked up at the highest levels of the Trump executive branch, drawing in the Department of Justice, the leadership of the intelligence community, and possibly even the Pentagon, to tilt November's midterm elections to Republican candidates so as to ensure that the president's party retains control of the House and Senate. Vanity Fair, probably a 10-page piece there. S.E. Cupp, political commentator on CNN. Full disclosure, I interviewed her many years ago. She's actually an Ithaca grad. S.E. Cupp said that President Donald Trump was trying to consolidate power like a dictator. Trump's love language is clearly election denialism. This is what he needs, and he's more fixated on it than ever. He's always been like this, but he demands it. And whether it's this or having to lie on the stand about whether Joe Biden won the election or J.D. Vance having to translate something Trump just said, and then he goes out and he says he didn't really say that, but of course he said. You just have to lie in Trump's orbit. It's part of the job description. Now you must lie to stay in his favor. You have to do these insane beclowning of yourself in front of people to keep your job, to get the endorsement. He's running for governor. Obviously, this is part of the performance. It's really insane. Who's running for governor? He's been on the scene now for 10 years, and he's been doing this. He was saying 2016 was going to be rigged before he won it. And it has had the effect of sowing distrust in every institution, from the media. Yeah, no, the distrust in the media is because of Trump. Interesting. To the generals, to our intelligence, all of it. And I think it's for a much darker purpose. I think it's because, like all dictators, like all authoritarian wannabes, you have to consolidate power. I am the only one you can trust. He has to make everyone else a liar at the expense of our democratic institutions. It's interesting how they can push the Russian collusion narrative and suggest that election was rigged. Hillary Clinton writing about it in books not that long ago. But that's different. When Trump says it, all of a sudden, it's a threat to democracy. And that's why when I say the media has no credibility, there's a piece here at New York State that says, how do you know that what you're seeing or hearing about an elected official or a political candidate is true? It can be difficult to tell, and if you don't trust the media, it can be frustrating. While trust must be earned, there are far too many voters who only trust media they agree with, which is a dangerous precedent. According to Mary Miller, the Education Services Director for the New York Newspaper Foundation's New Media Literacy Program, we all need to be critical consumers of news media. Don't just react, don't just question, dig deeper, she said. A professional journalist is someone who is paid by a news organization, someone who generates their income by being a professional journalist, someone who can get a press pass. Professional journalists who use social media are going to share authentic sources. While consuming news from newspaper is the best way to become knowledgeable, she says. Anyway, they go on to talk about the bubble and the echo chamber online, the fact check, and then they point to places like Snopes, which we know has a far left bias. Interesting. All right, as an update from a story that we had for you last week, before we talk about the Democrat Party quickly, we may go to New York next. Yeah, I think I might go to New York next. But I wanted to mention this because we were talking about the SAVE Act, and we were talking about the questioning of past elections. The Justice Department's top civil rights official has accused New Jersey Governor Mickey Sherrill of criticizing President Donald Trump's election integrity claims, even though she already knew her administration was about to disclose a major voter registration problem. In his July 16th address, Trump accused China of acquiring sensitive voter data and said U.S. intelligence agencies hid that revelation from the public, while also alleging several Democrat-run states, including New Jersey, have large numbers of non-citizens registered to vote. Department of Homeland Security data released in concert with the speech found more than 35,000 potential non-citizens are on the Garden State's rolls. Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon said when the president came out with his primetime speech last Thursday, "I believe in the sequencing of events that has been laid out. Sherrill already knew that this revelation was forthcoming. She knew it, and she went online and called the president a liar anyway and said he was exaggerating. Shame on you, Governor." Yeah, it's just scoring political points. So it comes out and says, nope, Trump's lying, even though she knew that she was going to have to release this information about non-citizens on her voter roll. Dillon said governors willing to cooperate with the DOJ would receive assistance, but warned states refusing to do so could face lawsuits. It's a bipartisan problem, actually. I'm really looking forward to helping everyone who will work with us fix this problem. And if they won't work with, we'll sue them and we'll still fix the problem. Now, following Trump's address, Cheryl signed on to a statement with 23 other Democrat governors attempting to throw cold water on the president's wide-ranging claims, calling him a liar. The rebuke said, it's deeply alarming that President Trump continues to try to undermine free and fair elections. No amount of lies and conspiracy theories can change the fact that our country's elections have repeatedly been proven to be safe and secure. Cheryl co-signed the statement that went on to accuse Trump of trying to intimidate and silence voters, while claiming Democrats are the ones actually making life better for American families by lowering costs, creating jobs, and protecting our freedoms. Ours is a winning message, which is why he is trying to undermine democracy. Dillon said Cheryl and all other governors should join with DOJ to investigate every substantive claim of election integrity violations. Every single person who voted illegally canceled out the vote of a New Jersey voter. That is shameful. Instead of pointing fingers at the president, which is what Governor Cheryl did, she should be raising her hand to work with the federal government to clean this up ASAP, because that's the vow that she took when she ran for office and she got sworn in as the governor of her state. It is to protect her citizens, and her citizens have a right to vote. Dillon's letter gave Cheryl 5 business days, expiring Tuesday, to turn over voter data in the case. Meanwhile, Cheryl indicated to WCBS that she wouldn't be complying. It's not a surprise the Trump administration wants to immediately weaponize this against people as opposed to focusing on making sure we're running free and fair elections. She's going to complain about that. That's interesting. Asked about the accusations, Cheryl knew about her own state's motor vehicle or motor voter scandal when she accused Trump of being a liar. Cheryl spokesman Sean Higgins pointed Fox News Digital a comment she made after touring a grocery store in Essex County to sign unrelated legislation. Anyway, you get the idea. All right, we got to take a short break. Stay with us. Oh, here's a nice comment. Good morning, Frank. Have a wonderful day. You too. Thank you very much. I hope you have a wonderful day as well. That's so nice of you. Thank you for those sending in questions for the sheriff. We, as I had mentioned earlier, tomorrow we'll be talking with Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard. On Thursday's program, we'll be talking with Hornell Mayor John Buckley. And then on Friday's program, we'll be talking with Michael Valino, Steuben County legislator. So if you have any questions for any of those guests, please get them into me ahead of time. It's a lot, plus, trust me, it's a lot easier when you send them in ahead of time. I love them live, but sometimes we just get distracted and we're not able to get to all your questions. I don't want that to be the case. All right, let's take that short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
I had to pack up all my things. I had to leave my home. And I never knew where I was going next. It felt like I never even had a say. But then you came along.
Change a child's story. There's a child in foster care waiting for a volunteer like you. Learn how you can help at nationalcasagal.org.
Live a carefree, engaging lifestyle at Apple Ridge Senior Living, where exceptional is the standard. It's time to redefine your future. Pursue your passions and make meaningful connections. Enjoy an inclusive and customizable senior living experience. Everything you could want, more than you expect. Visit appleridgeseniorliving.com and schedule your tour today.
Looking for a meaningful day trip close to home? Visit the historic Elmira Prison Camp, one of the most significant Civil War sites in the North. Walk the grounds, stand where history happened, discover powerful stories of courage, sacrifice, and survival that shaped our nation. Whether you're a history enthusiast, a family looking to learn together, or simply exploring the Finger Lakes region, we offer an experience you won't forget. Plan your visit today at elmiracivilwar.org. Preserve, discover, remember.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers, a slow-moving system is bringing a cooler and wetter stretch for us. A high of 76 today with scattered showers and some rumbles of thunder. Highs in the region ranging from 73 to 78, then generally in the low 60s overnight with additional showers and thunderstorms. More wet weather on Wednesday, 68 to 73 for our highs. Lingering showers Thursday. After that, dry Friday and Saturday with a warming trend.
But frankly speaking, Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. So, as I said, we have quite a few New York things. We can talk about the Democrat Party in general, but I think we've got to mention what's happening in New York. Okay. First of all, as I mentioned, we're going to have Sheriff Allard on the program tomorrow. Well, Steuben County Sheriff's Office is one of the 12 New York law enforcement agencies to receive a letter late last week from State Attorney General Letitia James ordering them to cut ties with ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Now, this is out of Spectrum, I think News is reporting this, talking to Sheriff Allard. Sheriff Allard saying we jumped on board from the perspective that the more we work together, the less likely that vehicle stops are going to happen by unmarked vehicles, and the likelihood of everything being on body cam if one of our deputies is there is going to happen. So from our perspective, working with them in partnership makes all of us in Steuben County safer. So we're going to get the exact details from him on that on tomorrow's program. But the sheriff saying I think it's an unconstitutional law, the law that Governor Hochul put into effect. The sheriff says he and local lawmakers are looking into exactly what the Attorney General's letter means. Allard says agreement with ICE to house inmates before arraignment, as well as a similar long-time deal with the U.S. Marshal Service, brought $130,000 into Steuben County coffers in the first quarter of this year alone. Allard saying, I don't want to do something that's going to not be supported entirely by the county, but at the same time, my own personal beliefs is that it's a bad law and makes us less safe, and it puts people in jeopardy. So we'll be asking the sheriff about that tomorrow. And I don't know if it's in reference to that letter that Letitia James sent. I'm sorry, I'm putting that in my desk drawer so I don't forget to ask the sheriff tomorrow. But Immigration and Customs Enforcement surge has begun in New York. That's according to Trump border czar Tom Homan. It was officially launched yesterday. Homan revealed the plans for the ICE surge early last month, but at the time he gave no timeline. On June 8th, he appeared on Fox and Friends and warned New York's governor, Kathy Hochul, you're going to see more ICE agents than you've ever seen in New York City, and it's coming. Homan's warning came after the Democrat-controlled state legislature passed more sanctuary state laws, some of which place even more restrictions on state law enforcement agencies from working with federal authorities. Now it appears he is following through in his promise. According to News Nation, ICE launched its new operation in New York yesterday. The surge of ICE agents was first seen in Queens, and the operation is expected to expand into other boroughs across the city. So far, the officers already assigned to New York are taking the lead, and no plans have been announced to bring in those stationed outside the city to assist in the surge. Homan added that the operation may be in place for more than a month, but did not share any of the parameters. So that was just a quick update on that. Now, Bruce Blakeman. We've been talking about Bruce Blakeman a lot. Doing better in the fundraising category than maybe originally had thought. Over $11 million. Now, again, Governor Hochul still in the $20 million on-hand range. And that's not to mention the Democratic Party of New York State, much better financial position than the Republican Party in New York State, which was almost another $20 million that she would have. Well, they still must be scared. I know I've said this before, whether it was trying to deny him matching funds, and you may hate the matching funds idea where taxpayers help pay for candidates that you may not support, but that's not the issue. The matching funds is the name of the game. So Bruce Blakeman tried to get those matching funds, and as we know, the Democrats tried to block him. Well, speaking of that, and again, they've got to be concerned. Democrats blocked Republican gubernatorial candidate Bruce Blakeman from speaking during the Bronx Dominican Day parade on Sunday, with one state politician admitting she snubbed him over his ties to President Trump. Blakeman wasn't given the chance to address the crowd during part of the celebration on the Grand Concourse that involved comments from Mayor Zohran Mamdani and public advocate Jumaane Williams. The Republican, who is currently serving as the elected Nassau County executive, was told by left-wing Assemblywoman Amanda Septimo he couldn't speak even though some of the crowd called out to let him speak. Blakeman releasing a statement to the New York Post saying this is exactly what life under socialism is like, where free speech is prohibited and only one party gets to communicate with the public. Adding, he was invited by leaders of the Dominican community to speak. It is clear that democratic socialists don't want the truth to be told that their policies will make people more miserable than they already are. Septimo, the politician, openly admitted, I said no, and kept the mic from Blakeman, like that teacher you didn't want to have when you were in school. I said no. When the crowd was literally asking Blakeman to speak, this far-left politician would not give him the microphone. He raises a good point that that's life under socialism. That's life. This goes back to our conversation we were just having about the Supreme Court, where even though Trump has lost numerous cases in front of the Supreme Court, they still want it to be 100% to the left. Not 99.9%. They want 100% to the left in the decisions. So they want to stack the court. They want to rig the game, as we mentioned before. That's what they're doing here. Now, whatever you think of Bruce Blakeman, whatever you think of Kathy Hochul, this far-left politician was saying, no, you don't even have an opportunity to speak to the people that want to hear you speak. That should tell you a lot of what you need to know about the Democrat Party as it exists today. I said no. And keep in mind, I think it should be noted, Governor Hochul wasn't at the event. She attended fundraisers in the Hamptons instead. So he absolutely should have been given that microphone. Septimo said, I don't think it was appropriate for him to speak before a crowd of immigrants, someone who has spewed such rhetorics to make remarks at the parade. He could have been running for dog catcher. I would never platform someone like that. Remember, that's a term that they use. Platform means actually let you speak. Actually, you attend this parade and actually maybe let him have an opportunity to say hello. I would never platform something like this. This lady sounds like the life of the party. The longtime parade organizer, Philippe Febles, deferred to Septimo on whether Blakeman should add remarks. Bruce Blakeman is someone who has described himself as pro-ICE and for everything the Trump administration represents. So he should have absolutely no right to speak at an event he was invited to, an event where people called out to let him speak, and the best they had is, I said no. Blakeman said, nevertheless, I had a great time meeting all the good people of the Dominican community in the Bronx, and we celebrated the rich achievements the Dominicans have made to benefit our state, city, and country. So we're a little under 100 days until the November election. It's actually 99, well, it'll be 98 days today. Till the election, the gubernatorial race, congressional, there's a lot of races. Voters will head to the polls in New York to decide who will be governor for the next 4 years. Now, Governor Hochul is already taking a victory lap. She released a statement through her campaign apparatus, and I'll get to that in just a moment. I mean, you would think that she already won. It's all over but the shouting. Both Hochul and Blakeman are projecting confidence in their campaigns. The incumbent Democrat governor is leading her Republican challenger both in the polls and in fundraising, but experts say the November election is going to have a lot to do with a third figure, President Donald Trump. Quote, Blakeman, can point to her incumbency, and she can point to Donald Trump's incumbency. And so we're going to hear a lot about that. We have a grumpy electorate where people are not satisfied with things about the economy and housing and a lot of these issues. Ed Cox, who is the chair of the state Republican Party, said, we have the high ground with respect to fiscally responsible budgets. We have the high ground with respect to immigration. We have the high ground with respect to energy. Jay Jacobs, the Democrat Party chair, said, I think the Democrat Party's mission is really very clear. It always has been, is now, and should always be to ensure that the American dream works for every citizen in this country. So if you reach that American dream, and you've done well for yourself and you buy a second home, you're going to get taxed into oblivion and you're going to have your name doxxed by Democrat Socialist of America as well, Zohran Mamdani. Is that the kind of living the American dream that you were hoping for? Her Hochul's favorability and approval ratings have ticked up in recent months, and in a head-to-head race, Hochul leads Blakeman, according to this, take it with a grain of salt, by 20 points. Right now, she's getting independents, and she's clearly getting the Democrat base. Now, are there certain things going on in New York where she has not succeeded, where she's come up short? If you look at the legislative agenda, clearly Blakeman can point to those things. This is from, I think this is from Spectrum 2. Blakeman criticized her for steep increases in state spending and criminal justice policy. Ed Cox, again, saying he loves New York. He will not be able to this is in reference to Trump. He loves New York. He will not be able to resist coming here. He'll come here and he will be very helpful to us in the process. All right. And then they brought up the no longer being able to cooperate with ICE. Ed Cox saying that's a huge mistake. You're going to cooperate with ICE whether they have an agreement or not, he added. All right. It will be interesting with the Democrat Socialists of America involved, how that's going to be. Now, Hochul has the fundraising advantage over Blakeman with over $21 million in total cash on hand. Blakeman has raised over $6 million. We've heard closer to 11. Now, when we return, because I'm running just a little bit late, I'm going to show you how Hochul's already taking the victory lap. I'm not doing that to give her, platform her. I'm not doing that, but I'm giving it just to show you, get fired up. I mean, there is a apathy in the Republican Party. We've talked about it a lot lately. Where people are saying, okay, I voted for Republicans across the board. They have the majority, and they still can't get anything done. The SAVE Act isn't passed, even though 80% of Americans support it. John Thune just seems to be almost laughing that he's not getting things done in the Senate. I understand it, but look at a race like that where we could finally see some change in Albany. But we got to take a short break. Keep those comments, keep those waves coming in, and we'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Hi, this is Tom Witzel, owner of Hesselson's in Amara Heights. At Hesselson's, we care about your well-being and overall health, whether it's relieving stress, muscle recovery, increasing circulation, or just revitalizing the body. Hesselson's now has 2 complete line of infrared and traditional rock saunas in our new and expanded showroom. Come in today and see why owning a sauna is the start of your new healthy lifestyle. Hesselson's is still locally and family-owned and operated in Amara Heights. After 70 years, it's still fun to poke in the corners at Hesselson's.
Yeah, hello. I'm really not sure if this is what you all do, but I really don't have anywhere else to turn.
Hi. I don't even know why I'm calling right now. I'm sorry. My thoughts are going a mile a minute.
My kids are out of state. My buddies from the Army are all gone now. I'm really alone.
I left the service last year. My mom just passed away a few months ago. I miss so much time with her. I keep getting calls about the bills, and I'm trying to get a job, but I feel so stuck.
Okay, ma'am. I'm glad you called.
Okay, sir. Let's stay on the line and walk through some things.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Make this the summer Jeep event you've been waiting for. Save over $7,200 on all new 2026 Jeep Wrangler 2-door Sports.
Don't miss the Make This the Summer Jeep event. Drive home your new 2026 Jeep Wrangler today. Chilson Wilcox, selling cars a different way, the right way. Adventure starts here.
Hurry in! When they're gone, they're gone.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. Let's go to some viewer comments. We know the deep state can call Trump what they want, but when Drew Lee Biden was criticized, we were called traitors and fascists. Hopefully everyone can see it's the deep state Democrats that are the traitors and fascists. Comment from a different viewer. Seattle's mayor shut off cameras to protect illegals, leaving citizens vulnerable. The food festival should have been recorded for safety. The protection of illegals shouldn't allow crime to be unchecked. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. James, Letitia James that is a hypocrite given that she breaks the law and seems to be able to do so with impunity. But at the same time, she is prosecuting other criminals like herself. Just saying. Has any resolution been reached regarding her lying to get a discounted mortgage rate? Not that I know of. I mean, that's another one of those examples that get very frustrating where it seems like, and I know the process takes a while, but just where nothing seems to come from it. And then when you look around, you go, oh, I totally forgot. Comment from Mark, like the saying, be careful what you wish for is so very true. These people wanting socialism, are they aware they will lose their freedom, be totally run by the government, just like Russia and China? I can't fathom why people would want that. Because I think it's an ego thing, too, because we used to talk about this with Obama. I think there's an ego thing that even though socialism has never worked, I can make it work. I'm the one person in the history of the world that can actually make this socialism work. That's my thought. I think it's a lot of the big-headedness. Because why else, when you look at all these other failed socialist and communist countries, why you would ever want to emulate that? But it's got to be an ego thing. Or it's also that person that thinks they're the smartest person in the room that, oh, well, they just didn't know how to do it. I really got that. This is utopian. That's the only thing I can think of. Rick writes in, says, good morning, Frank. Good morning, Rick. Here we go again. Trump is claiming he backed off attacks on Iran because the high-level peace talks between the U.S. and Iran were so successful. On the other hand, Iran says there isn't any talks going on. Trump, what a liar. We are running out of ammo. I think that's interesting how quickly you just, if Iran says it, got to be true. Trump, because they never have a history of doing that exact thing. Trump tells the crowd in Detroit he's done more for them than their own parents. That didn't get the response he was looking for. What makes that fool think he's better than anyone else that comes before him? Trump signed off on a bunch of shortcuts for his new airplane. They are talking... What? Trump signed off on a bunch of shortcuts for his new airplane. They're talking that they spent $900 million more dollars just to get the plane to the fool by July. A bunch of security items still need to be installed. It's all about if it looks pretty with this guy. There's a real shiny airplane. There's a real glistening reflection pool you have. That's a real nice 14-karat gold toilet paper holder you got there, Donald. Who cares? All right, keep those waves, keep those comments coming in. As I mentioned, Governor Hochul, and specifically her campaign manager, sent this out on the 100-day mark. And I'm going to just jump ahead a little bit through this. The campaign is already organizing in all 62 counties, door knocking for months before ballots are set, and mobilizing traditionally overlooked voters through historic organizing investments in New York City. 100 days out, our operation is laying the groundwork not just to re-elect Governor Hochul, but elect Democrats up and down the ballot and help win back the U.S. House. Now, they're putting out that message only because, I have to mention this, because she was so ridiculed by her own party. Governor Hochul is essentially the leader of the Democrat Party in New York, okay? And she did such a bad job against Lee Zeldin that even Nancy Pelosi was calling her out on TV. It's one of those examples that I always give when I say that she's just not prime time. She's not ready to be at the level she thinks she is. But what have they done behind the scenes? Governor Hochul has opened more than 20 offices, hired more than 50 organizers, launching a paid internship program to train the next generation of Democratic campaign talent, and beginning door knocking in the spring, months before many campaigns even begin. This coordinated campaign is built on a simple premise. Democrats win by competing everywhere. Hochul's operation is organizing in every state, in every region of the state, from western New York to Long Island, from North Country to New York City, because no community should be taken for granted. It can the other 4 years, but not during the campaign. That's why the governor's investment includes a statewide constituency organizing program designed to connect community-specific and in-language programming with traditional organizing tactics, ensuring our campaign's message meets voters exactly where they are. The 2026 coordinated campaign is setting goals to double voter contact from last cycle, including 1.5 million door knocks and at least 6 million phone calls. The campaign is holding Bruce Blakeman accountable at every opportunity. Yeah, they're gonna go after him as 100% MAGA, it says in here. Just to wrap this up, this is coming from Governor Hochul. Governor Hochul's early investments in organizing infrastructure, financial firepower, and GOP accountability are laying the foundation for a big win, not only for this campaign, but for Democrats up and down the ballot. Again, this is her wanting to be a prominent member of the Democrat Party so bad, but even when they gave her an opportunity to speak at the DNC, she blew it. One other thing on the governor's race, because I want to pass this along. We're going to talk about Mom Donnie quickly. Yeah. All right. Bruce Blakeman's press office released this quote from Bruce Blakeman. When a 12-year-old child gets gunned down in broad daylight, there's no middle ground left. Kathy Hochul has surrendered New York to violent gangs who use her raise the age law and cashless bail policies every single day to terrorize the public, run gun violence through our streets, and walk out of jail without consequences. To top it off, Hochul gave Mom Donnie a $5.1 billion bailout of your money, while completely starving the NYPD of the resources they need to keep our children safe. Gangs are running the blocks, our kids are dodging bullets, and Hochul is bankrolling this disaster. It is an unforgivable disgrace, and under my administration, it ends on day one. That is in response to the horrific Bronx shooting that left the 12-year-old son of a retired NYPD sergeant dead. You may have seen that piece. Sad piece from over the weekend. We're going to talk about Mom Donnie, tie that in not just with the two-house tax, but also we're going to tie it in with his rhetoric against Israel, rhetoric against Jews. We'll talk about that, and then we'll maybe tie it in with the Democrat Party if we have time, but we are running late. So stay with us. We'll be right back with Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV, Big Fox.
Live a carefree, engaging lifestyle at Apple Ridge Senior Living, where exceptional is the standard. It's time to redefine your future. Pursue your passions and make meaningful connections. Enjoy an inclusive and customizable senior living experience. Everything you could want, more than you expect. Visit appleridgeseniorliving.com and schedule your tour today.
We are the keepers of the wild, America's original and most invested conservationists. For more than 80 years, we've been committed to conserving wildlife and the natural landscapes that define our nation. From rugged alpine ridgelines to peaceful tall grass prairies, we've supported the conservation of more than 36 million acres of American wildlands. Our funding has led to cleaner water, fresher air, and improved wildlife habitat. From abundant fish and waterfowl populations to robust deer and elk herds, nothing is more important than maintaining wild spaces for adventurers to explore and wildlife to thrive. We are America's hunters and target shooters, stewards of the American outdoors.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers, a slow-moving system is bringing a cooler and wetter stretch for us. A high of 76 today with scattered showers and some rumbles of thunder. Highs in the region ranging from 73 to 78. Then generally in the low 60s overnight with additional showers and thunderstorms. More wet weather on Wednesday, 68 to 73 for our highs. Lingering showers Thursday. After that, dry Friday and Saturday with a warming trend returning.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security in Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Market Street in Corning. One thing I forgot, I wanted to ask this at the beginning of the program, and maybe we won't get any messages in because it's near the end here. But I just looked at my calendar. This would be the 53rd anniversary of Summer Jam in Watkins Glen. And I know throughout the years I've heard so many amazing stories of either people that attended or just watched it, the massive amount of people coming to our area or maybe worked up there at that time. If you have any cool stories, 53 years ago today, Summer Jam kicked off. That's, of course, with the Grateful Dead, the Allman Brothers, and the band. It became the biggest rock concert at the time. Huge numbers right in our backyard at Watkins Glen. So I'd love to hear if you have a story. Thank you for humoring me. I always love those stories, and I would love to read them if you have a story. Okay. Comments from viewers wondering if the Bills, meaning the Buffalo Bills, will be handing out pre-filled absentee ballots before games this year as a quid pro quo. Yes, with all the tax money they received. That's a good question. Ken writes in, mostly the conservative media is preaching to the choir when sounding the alarm about the Democrat Socialist of America's plans for the country. The legacy media is working to cover for the DSA so the sheeple will not hear how crazy their ideas are. The things highlighted prior to the elections will be ICE overreach, Trump's endless unconstitutional war, the horrifically out-of-control cost of living, Trump trying to rig future elections, and anything else that they can make up to damage Republicans. The low-information sheeple won't know about the DSA's plans until it smacks them in the face. And even then, with coaching from the legacy media, they will blame Republicans. Of course, the failures will be, I mean, look at Cheryl, New Jersey, somehow blaming, well, the past administration, which was a Democrat, and then blaming Trump. Yeah, they're always going to be able to twist it, but you're spot on. So many people don't know what they're voting on when it comes to the Democrat Socialists of America because the media just wants that D next to their name. They want that win, and that's all that matters. Comment from a different viewer. Jack says you can vote your way into communism, but you have to shoot your way out. Thank you very much. Comment from a different viewer. Is Hochul using tax money to fund her insatiable appetite to spend tax money as if it were her own money? No wonder we have such a high tax burden. Get out and vote Republican. Mark writes in and says, in response to Hochul's new law where law enforcement can't work with ICE, if I was Trump, I'd flood New York City with ICE, especially New York City. Or New York State originally, with ICE, especially New York City and Albany, and see how she likes that. Well, Tom Holman says that they're going to start that process. All right, Mamdani doxed names and addresses of all New York City property owners who would be hit with that new pied-a-terre tax, which is a second house tax. I don't know why it's called that. I know they're trying to dress it up and make it sound fancier. But the city's Department of Finance uploaded the comprehensive list, which purports to cover all unoccupied, non-primary residents in the 5 boroughs worth north of $1 million, including the full names and addresses of every property owner. Now, this is very reminiscent of when he went out front of Ken Griffin's penthouse in April. Basically, he's trying to scare the rich. And don't think for a moment this isn't going to create a massive gap of the rich leaving and no longer putting up with this. It's like Ken Griffin, who said, how dare you come to my house? Because this is what he's doing. It's a veiled message. It's not just, oh, well, you're rich, you're bad. But guess what? Now we all know your name and addresses. It's a reckless and foolish move, especially considering there are potentially thousands of properties on this list that do not qualify as second homes or whose owners will successfully dispute their inclusion, said Council Minority Leader David Carr, whose own home appears on the list. The move follows a widely panned Twitter post by the mayor in which he put wealthy residents on notice to, quote, check your mailbox when you're back in the 5 boroughs because you've got mail. A warning that notification letters were on their way. The best city in the world deserves the best parks, libraries, and schools in the world. That's only possible when we all pay our fair share. It's getting scary, the rhetoric. The socialist darling has long touted the policy enacted by Governor Hochul and Albany Democrats to tax second homes in the city, though critics have warned it could cause property values to plummet. Mamdani threatened to raise city property taxes by a staggering 9.5% in February unless he was allowed to tax the rich, to cover a $12 billion budget gap that was later revived down to $5.4 billion. City Hall estimates that this new tax would yield $500 million per year, but Democratic City Comptroller Mark Levine's office said the figure would be closer to $340 to $380 million and could diminish over time. Unsurprisingly, the colossal database of names and addresses includes several A-list New Yorkers, including director Woody Allen, longtime Vogue editor Ann Winter, and actress Cynthia Nixon, a loyal Mamdani supporter. All right, there you go. Now, there's already questions about some of the homes that were put on there. If you just do it quickly and you see that a lot of those would not be affected by this. As per state law, a property roll was released for public inspection, said a DOF spokesperson. From this list, DOF will identify properties that may be subject to the new non-primary residence property surcharge. but the DOF didn't say how it came up with a list of hundreds of thousands of residents or why it published the names of owners out of more than 1.1 million owner-occupied homes across the Big Apple, only saying it was required to post it under state law. Carr saying all the mayor is doing is tanking the luxury home market in New York City and sending millions of dollars in real estate business to other states. But the upside is Mamdani is a shoo-in for Realtor of the Year in Texas and Florida. Carr's statement, Staten Island condo, made the list. As I don't know, who cares about everybody that made the list. But it's an enemies list, is essentially what this is. It was doxing and sending out an enemies list. Mayor Zohran Mamdani has doubled down on his Eat the Rich campaign by publishing that list. And hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers guilty of owning an apartment. The City Department of Finance released an enemies list, as I mentioned, of property owners who might be covered by the new non-resident tax. A kind of one-stop class warfare shopping list for Antifa radicals looking for targets. Mind you, says the New York Post, publicizing the list serves no good purpose. The city is mailing all these owners, asking them to clarify if they don't qualify for the new tax. So this publicly isn't about informing them. It's about scaring them. Worse, as the DOF website admits, the list is not limited to those properties that may be subject to the surcharge, meaning most of the list isn't relevant to the new tax. Above all, many people on the list are the primary residents of the homes they own, which can be a condo or a co-op that would sell at least at $1 million or more, which includes a ton of one-bedroom pads in today's market. Too bad for you if your modest residence is now a target for some anarchist disgruntled about his own poor station in life. Worse yet, the whole thing is splash dash, blatantly generated with no human bothering to examine it. Consider who's not paying their fair share on the $37 million brownstone at 1033 Fifth Avenue, across the street from the Metropolitan Museum of Art. Why? The Islamic Republic of Iran, that's who, and many other tax-exempt diplomatic buildings also made the list. Why did no one at City Hall stop this amateur hour idiocy? Because the Democrat Socialist crew is obsessed with naming and shaming their class enemies. As National DSA co-chair Megan Romer explained, we will win by making conditions so intolerable to the ruling class that they would rather give in to our demands and live with the disturbance we cause. How scary is that? They want everyone owning private property to fear their wrath. Take notice. When somebody puts you on their enemies list, they mean it, and that he knew exactly what he was doing. We got to take a short break. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this.
Firefighters responding to a fire alarm on Wednesday found several safety violations.
I'm on scene right now where the commercial fire happened yesterday. As you can see, the building is in complete ruins.
They're pushing for an additional $250 million to the state budget.
Free local pantry here in her front lawn in Painted Post.
The Vencino Group says it will cover hotel stays for residents through March 20th.
With the U.S. Department of State releasing a travel caution worldwide.
When it comes to home improvement, Horseheads Do-It Center has you covered. Family-owned, locally trusted, and packed with everything you need for any project. From top-quality tools to kitchen and bath essentials, we make it easy. Competitive prices, expert advice, friendly service. Visit us at 124 North Main Street or online at doitbest.com/horseheads today.
Today's students are tomorrow's great thinkers and innovators.
What can this fall teach us about the way things move?
But right now, millions of kids go to schools that don't have the supplies they need just because of where they live. Donors Choose is a nonprofit that lets you support students and teachers in your community and beyond. You could supply a classroom like this one with a project. But what you're really giving is the moment that sparks a brighter tomorrow. Learn more at donorschoose.com.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam, brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back, broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio here on Marcus Street in Corning. Jack continues, he wrote in earlier, this is the perfect opportunity for communism. The Democrat Party is so fractured without direction that they're going to just latch on to anyone that they'll get the votes for them and for their power. Thank you, Jack. But they're saying this new tax for Mamdani's and the vindictive nature of it and the hit list reveals his true colors. That's Isaac Shore. He's shown himself as a vindictive predator. It was a dubious, misleading prediction about a destructive policy that will be shouldered by people of much more modest means than Mamdani would ever admit. But it also paled in comparison to what came next. City Hall published the list and the addresses and the name of their owners. It was a stunt that would have been ripped right from the Joker. As he had boasted, his administration has already privately informed the relevant homeowners of this impending fate. So why, pray tell, was the purpose of outing them publicly? The obvious yet disturbing answer is that the mayor wants to punish his targets for the crime of investing in his city by opening them up to intimidation, harassment, and even acts of violence. It's reckless to the point of being unfit for any office, much less the one he holds. That's no judgment leap. This is a trend, not a one-off. Back in April, the mayor celebrated the impending tax by filming himself standing outside Ken Griffin's penthouse and complaining that Griffin's purchase of it was part and parcel of a fundamentally unfair system that hurts working New Yorkers. Hopefully no one held their breath waiting for an explanation of why it's unfair or how it hurts anyone. Regardless, the intention behind naming and shaming Griffin was clear: create a villainous foil for his signature policy. Never mind that the benevolent billionaire has already given away over $2 billion of his own wealth. And never mind the personal consequences of his arbitrary call-out for Griffin. The self-assured socialist can always use his ill-conceived ends to justify malicious means, though the mayor seems to relish the latter in and of themselves. Mamdani continued targeting of private citizens he's turned into political punching bags. Behavior is particularly disturbing in light of recent history. After all, the far-left movement from which he hails is an increasingly violent one. It was only a little over a year and a half ago that Luigi Mangione allegedly murdered United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson in cold blood in Midtown, in the name of the same toxic ideas that Mamdani peddles too. Thompson, 3 attempts on Donald Trump's life, the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the firebombing of Holocaust survivors in Colorado, and so many attacks on Jews in the Big Apple that they could all be categorized as one part of one extended attack. None of it has proven enough to dissuade Mamdani from endangering the lives of still more innocents. Throw in his breathtaking reaction to the October 7th terrorist attack on Israeli civilians, an ice-cold response to the anti-Semitic harassment of Representative Dan Goldman, and you have the full picture of a man without a drop of the empathy he professes to possess. We will replace the frigidity of rugged individualism with the warmth of collectivism, he vowed. If our campaign demonstrated that the people of New York yearn for solidarity, then let this government foster it. In hindsight, it sounds more like a threat than a promise, because his ruthless brand of collectivism means turning the temperature up until the heat starts to claim victims, and that's what they're admitting the policy is. David Patterson, remember David Patterson, our former governor? He's actually compared Mamdani to segregationist George Wallace, for the way he's inciting anti-Jewish violence. That his attacks on Benjamin Netanyahu is a dog whistle for anti-Semitism. Mamdani is a 2020's answer to George Wallace, Patterson said. Wallace, a 4-time presidential candidate and former governor of Alabama, infamously proclaimed segregation now, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. Patterson said the social media-focused socialist mayor is not explicitly calling for violence in his anti-Israel rhetoric, but like Wallace, it could fuel people to the brink, saying it's taking those people on the edge and making them more likely to commit violence. It's giving fodder to anti-Semitic people. We got to take a short break. Get your last second comments in. We'll be right back. It's hard to believe. Getting ready to wrap up today's edition.
Big Fox 10 p.m. News is the first primetime local news for the Twin Tiers. Our reporters, Haley and Dante, scour the southern tier to bring you up-to-date news regarding local businesses, economics, and how national decisions impact our area. If you're not near a TV, don't worry. You can also catch our 10 p.m. news live on WYDCTV.com/livestream. Don't miss Big Fox 10 p.m. News on WYDC, on TV, or our website.
Live a carefree, engaging lifestyle at Apple Ridge Senior Living, where exceptional is the standard. It's time to redefine your future. Pursue your passions and make meaningful connections. Enjoy an inclusive and customizable senior living experience. Everything you could want, more than you expect. Visit appleridgeseniorliving.com and schedule your tour today.
Meteorologist Brandon Weathers, a slow-moving system is bringing a cooler and wetter stretch for us. A high of 76 today with scattered showers and some rumbles of thunder. Highs in the region ranging from 73 to 78, then generally in the low 60s overnight with additional showers and thunderstorms. More wet weather on Wednesday, 68 to 73 for our highs. Lingering showers Thursday. After that, dry Friday and Saturday with a warming trend returning.
The Frankly Speaking Roof Cam brought to you by Boss Security and Horseheads. Contact them today for all your business and home security needs. We are back broadcasting live from the Hesselson studio, getting ready to wrap up today's edition. Mark writes in, can't Mom Donnie be sued for giving out people's addresses and names for taxes on their second houses? Have a great day. I don't know. That could be public knowledge, because remember back in the day, if you bought a house, it would be listed in the newspaper. So I'm not really sure how that works. It is personal information. I know that. It's not good. Yeah. Someone sent me a picture of that. Yes, absolutely. He also lied about U.S. aid to Israel. And that's a vicious continuation of this from Mom Donnie. AM New York's editorial says that it's the mayor's responsibility to defend Jewish New Yorkers and keep his rhetoric in check. At long last, the mayor must wake up to this realization. Mamdani says he is mayor for all New Yorkers, including Jewish New Yorkers. It's time he started acting like it. It's getting so bad in New York. The Jews are training for anti-Semitic violence. This is specifically out of Illinois, but critics say arming isn't the answer. Okay, leave it to ABC News to say that. As NRA boosts a program called Locks and Loaded, where they have bagels and locks in a conference room and go over the safety procedures. Anything. Anyway, because of all these anti-Semitic attacks, they found it necessary. I like how ABC News said, no, it's not the answer. It's not the answer. Politico says New York Democrats face a generational reckoning. Left-leaning young voters are dominating Democratic primaries, forcing longtime incumbents to shift, meaning they'll go farther left. That's what Hochul's done. Okay, I guess I missed your comment there. I'll check it out when I off the air. But thank you. Keep those comments coming in, and we do have just a second here. But the idea is that the establishment is going to go far left because they don't want, and it's what Hochul did, they don't want a challenger. But we are out of time for today's edition of Frankly Speaking. Thank you to everybody who joined us. Thank you for all the comments. Tomorrow on the program, get your questions in for Sheriff Jim Allard. Steuben County Sheriff Jim Allard making the news all over the place this week. Because of Letitia James's letter about demanding the stop of cooperation with ICE. So we'll talk with Sheriff Allard. Get your questions in for the sheriff. On Thursday, Hornell Mayor John Buckley will be joining us. And then on Friday, Michael Volino, Steuben County Legislature. They got some events coming up that he wants to promote. So we are busy the rest of the week. Get all your questions in as early as you possibly can. And have a great day, everyone. This has been Frankly Speaking here on WYDC TV Big Fox. We'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early. I look forward to it already.
One big day of smooth jazz awaits you at the Ferrario Elmira Jazz Festival. Join us at Thorne Street Park Saturday, August 15th for chart-topping jazz keyboardist Brian Simpson and soprano saxophonist Marion Meadows with local favorite Top Shelf. Celebrate with us. Tickets only $42. It's one big day. Buy tickets at ElmiraJazzFestival.com. Brian, Marion, and Top Shelf. One big day.
It's more than music.
Make this the summer Jeep event you've been waiting for. Save over $7,200 on all new 2026 Jeep Wrangler 2-door Sports.
Don't miss the Make This the Summer Jeep event. Drive home your new 2026 Jeep Wrangler today. Chilson Wilcox, selling cars a different way, the right way. Adventure starts here.
Hurry in! When they're gone, they're gone.